have a thumbs up, so we are Facebook Live for our work session. Folks in the back there. We are Facebook Live for our work session, which is in preparation for our recess meeting of November the 21st, before we roll into the holidays. So we will get started. We have the order of the program. I had originally had the fire department with Pafford up first, and I flipped it for whatever reason, and now I'm flipping it back. So we're going to do, I think the fire department at Pafford will be a briefer presentation, and so we'll do that first, and then we'll do the parks programming, and then we'll move into our agenda items. So Chief Yarber, if you want to lead off, please.
Good afternoon, board. Good morning, board. We have Freddie Parker and Joey Faulkner with us from Pafford. We've been in this partnership for 4 years now. Good partnership as far as the fire department side is concerned. We don't have really any issues working well together. The little issues we do have, they take care of them pretty quickly. Most of the issues is just personnel, having people come together from different places, to figure out how we do stuff versus when they come to the station. But other than that, turn over to him and tell.
So, good morning, everyone. And I know I've met some of you in the past. If I haven't, my name is Freddie Parker. I'm the Director of Operations for Pafford. I deal with all the operations in Mississippi that we have. So I'll kind of give you the kind of 30-second overview of what we do and how we do it here. So the city of Starkville has 2 advanced life support ambulances that are here 24/7. One of them runs from Station 3, Fire Station 3, and the other one runs from Fire Station 4. So it is a very unique setup. So Starkville is very unique in the setup for EMS in Mississippi. So there are very, very few municipalities that actually have their own EMS system, and so rare that I can probably count them all on one hand. And what makes that unique is your ambulances basically never leave the city of Starkville. So most setups, the county is responsible for providing ambulance service, and whatever municipalities are in that county are taken care of by that contract. So, here, the ambulances are taking care of all your 911. They're never, the trucks are never taking people out of town, from hospital transfers or anything like that. And Joey can correct me if I'm wrong here, but the only time an ambulance really leaves the city of Starkville is a patient having an active heart attack. And those patients go directly to Columbus because of the cardiac catheterization lab. But outside of that, 96% of your patients that we transport go directly to OCH here in Starkville. Therefore, shortening the transport times, shortening the time on task that every ambulance has, and then that ambulance returns to service. And when it goes back in service, it's in Starkville. So, as soon as they drop a patient off the hospital, they're still in the city limits of Starkville and haven't left. So, so one of the questions I think was raised was how much do we back up the county and how much does the county back up us? It's pretty rare. There are times that we have responded out to the county when they didn't have somebody available. And at the same time, in full transparency, there's times that OCH has responded into the city, if all of our units were tied up at the time as well. But those instances are very few and far between. So our transport patterns, I think I kind of hit on that just a little bit. Almost all the patients go to OCH. Very, very few end up in Columbus. But like I said, it's just mainly for a time-sensitive procedure that will have to be performed there. The priorities. So, in the reports that we send to the fire department, we have a whole lot of priorities that we dispatch out of. In the city of Starkville, there's going to be 2. There's going to be priority 1 and priority 2. So priority 1 is what's considered a life-threatening emergency. Okay. Priority 2 is an emergent situation, but it's not life-threatening. So if, for instance, priority 2 might be something that a patient fell 2 days ago, and they think they may have some sort of injury, but it's not life-threatening at that point. So we're not going to run lights and sirens to those calls. So any of your priority 1 calls, chest pain, breathing difficulty, somebody's unconscious, having a seizure, those are lights and sirens emergencies that we do. So as far as call volume goes, for 2023 year to date, so we run about 2,550 calls in the city of Starkville over the year, and about 1,695 of those were transported. So that about 34% of the calls that we run, we don't end up taking anybody to the hospital. Okay, so those are, we get there, they're not as sick as they thought they were. They, maybe a car wreck or something that just nobody was injured, but the 911 call came in. They didn't know if somebody was hurt. We go out to those. We offer treatment, and if they don't wish to be transported, then those are refusals, and we don't transport. So as far as the priorities go, back to that, so priority 1 and priority 2, like I said, are y'all's main ones. Anything beyond that, so our priority 3s and 4s are hospital transfers. Okay, so you guys will never see those on your reports, unless we would have to go take somebody out of OCH, which I don't, maybe that's happened once or twice since we've been here over the years. But that would be extremely rare if that were to happen. The priority 5s are medical appointments. We really don't do any of that here, so those will really never show up. The 6s, 7s, and 8s, 6s are wheelchair calls, so those will never be on your reporting. And the 7s and 8s, 7s are post moves. So if we have to have a truck that has to post from usually one county to the next, something like that would be the case, you guys won't see that. The priority 8s and 9s are standbys. Okay, so really the only example we have here is the fire department going out to a working house fire, commercial building fire, car fires, anything like that. The ambulance always goes with them, to stand by for the fire department. But outside of that, those are the priorities that would show up on your reporting. I think one other thing I was going to mention is all the medical supplies. So medical supplies, we still provide that for the fire department. We provide advanced life support equipment for the paramedics. So, and one thing we tell any municipal board, any county board, we want your fire department to be prepared, because there's always going to be the time where it's going to take, the situation will happen where there won't be one of our trucks available, then there'll be somebody else's truck available, and we want the firemen to be able to take care of the situation. So, we provide a cardiac monitor, we provide advanced life support equipment to them so that they're able to handle an emergency, in the case that it's going to be a little bit delayed on getting an ambulance there. So that's kind of the overview, and I will.
What's your average response time?
Oh, absolutely. So the average response time in the city of Starkville is about 6 minutes and 12 seconds. So, and that factors in, and which, I would say is pretty strong compared to the national average, for response time of an ambulance.
What's the national average?
So if you look around, there's one that says around 13 minutes, and that would include rural and urban areas. So that's kind of the number that's given if you look it up. It's around 13 minutes.
Any questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Parker, why Station 3? Why do you operate that stuff? What is, why Station 3 versus Station 1 or Station 2 or Station, why Station 3?
So we used to, correct me if I'm wrong here, we were operating out of Station 4, we were operating out of Station 5, what it was. So we were at Station 5 at one point, over on the other side of the highway.
That's on the west side of 25,
Yes,
right?
yes. And then we moved, I guess, we moved over to Station 3, I guess about 2 years ago.
We moved to Station 3 because of most of our calls, about 80% of our calls are in that area. Most of the nursing homes, the elderly live in that area, so we moved to state, we transferred over there because just
So-
run time, they can never.
So moving 5, 3,
And
another,
that's
the station be
business.
closed, would you be manning the station if it's, could Pafford man the station without the station being open? Probably not.
Say that again?
Station's closed, 5's
No,
closed.
I'm aware of that, but I'm just.
I'm just
asking
saying, it's
you what you're saying.
hypothetical, I'm saying could Pafford, if 5 was more advantageous,
Okay.
could you occupy 5 without it being staffed with firemen and fire trucks and being basically an open station?
Sure, as far as I'm concerned, we could.
Location there, but if you use the facilities, that kind of stuff, right?
As far as I'm concerned, we could. That would just be,
But you moved to 3 because of another reason, 5 was close to the highway and close to, access to get it there.
yeah, Station 3, is the busiest station. They run more calls. So, that's the, we can have that discussion.
No, I've asked for it. So three's of our stations is the busiest station.
That's the busiest one for us, isn't it? Yeah.
Unless I'm at work, and then it's the other thing.
Chief, what about you? How's the calls? How's 3 stack up with the other?
3 is the busiest station for runs, for everything.
Everything.
It's the busiest
Three
station.
is three man.
So basically, we're manned north and south.
Yeah.
So you're the Academy Road and then you're Garrett Road.
From the logistics, people being up on South Montgomery with all the residential down south, and not having to cross 12 to go, you got to cross 12 to get back to the hospital. To me,
Well, and that can be data driven. I mean, we can
Absolutely.
analyze exactly where all those calls are coming from and
Absolutely.
respond accordingly, because we've got 5 locations from which they could function, right?
Right, and that's something we can dig in deeper if we need to, you know, and really kind of get down to the mapping.
I just, you know, I ask a question.
To answer your question, yes, it's possible.
I just
It's
ask
possible.
stuff sometimes, 'cause it's, thank you.
What we see, we have them in the right positions, because right now, I don't know what this alluded to, going across Highway 12 to get to a call. Cleveland by LA, we get a lot of calls there, fall victims, just the areas in, and then also being in that area, Station 4, they also respond to Highway 12, the Station 2 calls as well. So we kind of got them in a place that we feel like they need to be able to get to that 6-minute, 4 and 5 minute run time, so.
Good, thank you. Thank you.
Are we having any problem getting to our location when we don't in a timely manner? We're not having any problems, are we?
Anyone else? Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And our contract is up with you 2024?
I think that's right.
Okay. All right, Mr. Doherty, you would be up, and this is going to be a informational programming for the board for 2024 with a little bit of historical element.
Yes,
added to it.
ma'am.
Is that correct?
That is correct, ma'am.
Okay, all right.
Welcome, Mayor, Board, good to see everybody. So just going to go through a few things just to kind of give you some updates and talk about kind of where we're headed in '24. This would be the annual year '24. So Cornerstone Park we just cut the ribbon. And so as we operate, we plan to operate 6:30 in the morning, which is basically light, to about dark. After dark out there along the trail, there is no lights, so there's no lighting on the trail to keep it safe, but the ballpark itself would still remain open for individuals who are scheduling time to practice. During the day, we will open up the playground, so the playground will be accessible, and so will the bathrooms and some of the picnic areas. So it will still have a staff member out there during the weeks and during those events. So that way, if there is any need for us to respond to anything or monitor things, we'll have people on hand to take care of anything that might come up. So practices and stuff for travel teams and rec teams will be basically the same thing. They will call us, we will schedule a time, we'll dedicate them to a field, we'll give them 90 minutes or so to get used to the batting cages and all those types of things. But it is a coordinated effort. If you show up without a scheduled time, it does not guarantee that you're going to have the available field. And because of how much usage it has, there's a chance that we might not be able to service you. So we really encourage everybody to call us in those types of situations.
Any scheduling issues? I mean, it's easy to do. You can do it
Yep, all you
online.
all you gotta do is call the office and call the front desk or email us at our address, and then we'll call you back and tell you, yes, we're good. Most of the time, we don't have a problem. As this grows, I do see more people just gonna come out there and go do stuff, and so all they gotta do is call us or email us, and we'll be good to go.
Okay.
Question for you. Is this a fee just to practice?
There is no fee. There is no fee for individuals who are practicing out there right now, but that's why we ask for the courtesy of them to call us and schedule it, because once they do that, they also need to sign a waiver to mitigate any liability.
So, and this is the only part about, I mean, I know you've got somewhere deeper in here concerns about Cornerstone, but let's talk about Cornerstone while we're there.
Okay.
One of the things that I know we talked about was keeping those fields in good shape. Right?
Yes.
And so, as the usage increases, we're gonna need, and prior to now, we had 6 fields?
So,
8 fields.
yes. So what the mayor is talking about is starting in January through basically, I'm going to say May, we have our rec program out there that's going to be Monday, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and probably some Fridays. On top of that, we still have rec teams who are going to be wanting to practice during that same amount of time. And then on Saturdays, starting in late February, and we're hoping 2-day events, Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday, we'll have tournaments going on. That's a lot of wear and tear on grass, and trying to keep those things healthy as we grow. There is some limitations related to what we can do to sustain it looking good. And so that's our concern as we move forward, is just trying to make sure that we're doing everything in our power to create a great experience for the tournament, but also the rec league, and then still keep it safe. Because if we get to the point in January and February where it gets torn up, grass isn't coming out of its dormant state until like, March, April. So we'll have some things that we'll have to address as we do. But we're gonna have to rotate some fields around, we're gonna have to rest areas, and so that doesn't mean that we have 12 fields that are always gonna be available. It means that we might only have 8 fields available, or we might have 6 fields available. That's why it's gonna be important for people to call us and schedule so that we can rotate things around. We're working with tournaments to try to make sure that they are using certain fields if we can, and then obviously we control the rec league, so we're gonna be controlling that too, to try to create the ability to keep it really nice as we get into the hotter seasons and stuff. But once it gets hot.
Well, the reason I wanted to make sure that we talked about it in some depth is because I know we're each gonna probably get phone calls that say, you've got 4 fields out here, why can't I use them? And so I think we need to make sure we have some sort of signage that says fields being rested, fields up for, whatever the terminology would be.
Yep.
And that way, we've notified people who might want to think about just going out there that there's a reason that you're not playing on that field. And so let's make sure that we set it up so that there are expectations, but also when y'all get those phone calls, I want to make sure that we have the right response to that. So anyway, that was the reason I wanted to go a little more in depth on that.
I see that as much a part of maintenance as the mowing and the fertilizing and everything else. It's just any asset that's run 100% of the time is gonna fail sooner. So it's just a routine maintenance issue to kind of take it out periodically and let it rest.
And that's the thing, is when we look at the sportsplex and the soccer fields, that's an example of where we don't rest them and take care of them in the frequency needed. Over time, it just becomes very problematic to the point where you can't recover without a complete review.
Yes, sir.
I can see you getting plenty of phone calls on that.
Mhm.
I already see it coming.
Yeah, me too, which is why I want to make sure that when y'all get them, I mean, I've got the answer, but when y'all get them, you've got the answer as well, because that's going to be part of it. And if we put something out that says that, then we're not playing games with anybody. We're telling them up front, don't use this because we're trying to continue to give you the best experience possible, and we've got to rest the fields.
So the sportsplex fields will be in this rotation also, right?
They will be, yes, as
But the
we,
sportsplex fields are dirty infields, right? Those are really softball fields, right?
oh, those fields, yes. Those fields are a little bit more sturdy right now. The grass is growing, we're not having as much traffic on them, you could say. So
you
those
still
will
have to
be okay.
schedule those.
No, those should be able,
Pick up.
yeah, anybody should be able to come over there, but if we get to the point where we're maxing our ability out at Cornerstone, then we would look to schedule those as additional fields.
There's the one field that's gonna be left at Key Park. Is it gonna be a ball field with a fence? Or is this gonna be
It
a
does have a-
playground with a backstop?
That's the T-ball area.
Yes,
So they still got fences and.
Which field is that? The one nearest
Those
the
are
field?
nearest the pavilion, the existing pavilion toward the back, the nearest.
Yeah, the back field.
Yeah,
By the creek or whatever.
well, no, it's over here by the basketball court and then the.
Okay, but no on the side over, on the west side, there's no fields left over,
Right.
right?
And what Brandon was alluding to and thought you were talking about was the soccer fields. 'Cause we have-
Right, and I was
rotation.
specific, I was actually asking about. But well, the soccer fields, but also softball fields.
yes.
So
They'll be-
they have dirt infields, so they're not maintenance on the grass.
Not as much as the others, but yes, we'll
You
still.
still practice baseball if you have to.
Absolutely, absolutely. You could even practice baseball on the turf field if you really wanted to, especially with grounding and things like that. We're willing to do whatever we can to support.
Is the turf field open during the week?
It is. The door, it's the
The
gates.
gates unlocked, I know for a long kind of time it's been locked.
It was, and now we open it up every day, unless there's something going on, but it's open and.
We have schools that have secured contracts with SFM for exclusive use for in certain times when they're having soccer season, something like that. That's
Just
to be
a-
their home field, right?
Yeah, just in the afternoons between like 3 and 5, more or less.
But other than that field, and during normal Parks and Rec hours, those fields, that football field will be open, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Right, and I didn't mean to blow your whole presentation.
Oh, you're
but I
good,
wanted to
man.
make sure we went in some depth on.
And you will get phone calls. This past weekend, we had somebody call us. We had just fertilized and sprayed one of the quads, and they didn't care. They were like, well, we're good. We're just going to go in there, even though I would recommend them not to go there. So you will definitely get calls, and people will just want to practice, even though that we
Well,
recommend they don't.
I understand the reason to say no to things, so, and our assets are important to preserve, so.
Yeah.
But I mean, we need to all understand, we took out 4 baseball fields.
Yeah,
We took out 4 baseball fields.
yep. And we
So when
replaced
you
it.
take out 4 baseball fields, it's like filling in dirt in a floodplain. The water's gonna go somewhere.
Oh, yeah,
So
absolutely.
when you fill in, when you close baseball fields, it's gonna push the people that live in those baseball fields somewhere else, looking for somewhere to practice, right?
But
Yep.
we have more fields now than we had before.
Absolutely, we do.
I
Yep.
mean, and I guess what you're saying is gonna be easily accessible, just call to get to.
Yeah.
So that'll work fine.
And it's, sometimes people will just come out there too and show up and want to practice and things like that, or just like, last weekend there was a family that was just playing in the batting cage and running around on the field and things like that. We'd never kick them off unless there was something scheduled, but sometimes people just want to have a catch with their dad, so, yeah,
Okay.
And that's why we have somebody out there when it's open.
absolutely, that's why we do that. Yep.
All right, sorry.
No, you're good. Okay. Any other questions about that? All right. This is the statue. So we finally got the statue put in this last weekend, and it looks really good. I tell you, it's just, the picture doesn't do it justice. You really need to go out there and take a look at it because it has such a presence to it. So, yes, ma'am.
It does, and when you're out there, notice that he has cleats on those shoes. There's a lot of detail there.
It is.
And that's the sculptor that's standing beside it there. He's very proud of it. He sent me a rather long email, and so he's very vested in that statue. It's beautiful, so.
It was a very interesting process to watch them install that. So definitely learned a few things. But I'll tell you, it just really is, it sets that whole area off. It's just such a nice addition.
And just to circle back on that, we're going to, at some point in time, figure out a time to acknowledge that and have a celebration of some sort around that. And we're trying to figure out if it's Kupop's birthday or it's when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. So
It's 50th anniversary next year of
Yeah.
his
in
induction
2024. So that may be,
into the Hall of Fame.
we'll come up with something special to acknowledge that. So.
All right. So next thing we're going to talk about is the pool, and I just wanted to do a quick recap of this past year before we work into the next year. Our hours of operation were pretty standard for the last couple of years, and our fees were pretty standard. None of those things really changed, but in general, we had over 30 season passes for families, 10 individual passes, and we had about $8,000 of daily passes of individuals who were coming into the pool. We also had a swim contract this last year that was really successful. On the flip side of that, we had a ton of expenses. As we had last year, lifeguards weren't available. We had to do some quick training, so we had a really high lifeguard training expense that we don't expect to see this coming year. Chemicals were pretty standard, but our labor was extremely high, and again, it was later in the season. We have to make sure that we have enough people so that when there is a huge influx of people at the pool, that we have enough lifeguards to cover everything. Now, this past year, we scanned people coming and going into the pool, and that's where we get into the data on the next page. After taking a look at that, we took a look at the hours basically of when do we have the most people at the pool checking in and utilizing it. Between 1 and 5 is when we had most of the people coming in. So what we did is we took the look and took the data and tried to figure out how do we reduce some of the overage and the expenses with labor by maximizing our ability to utilize the times that we've calculated the previous year. So what we're proposing to do as an amend for this next season is on the 25th, 6th, and 7th of May, we would have normal pool operations from noon to 6. For the next 4 days, we would be closed, and that's primarily because we're still in year-round school with the public schools. We found this last year when public school went back to school, our numbers basically just were done. We didn't really have anybody that was coming other than I would say less than 5 people a day. outside of the weekly. The weekends were good, weekdays were not. So starting June 1st, we would get into what we would consider a normal schedule.
That says 31 July. Should that be 31 May?
It should be,
Okay.
yes.
Good catch.
I was confused.
Multiple eyes, you got her, man. So Mondays and Tuesdays, we would like to do group swim with swim lessons. Now, we had about 50 kids in each swim lesson class, and we had 4 sessions throughout the entire year. It was a really successful program. They gave back, the contractor gave back to the community. They did can drives, they did free memberships. It was a really, really good thing. And the best part, it was a nice cost avoidance on our end because we didn't have to pay for all the additional lifeguards. So we would like to continue to do that. But we also had a challenge with organizations that wanted to come use the pool. We didn't have available time. So when we had large groups that wanted to come, and we're talking 25 to 35 people, kids, we didn't have any specified time where they could come use the pool. This year, we would like to have this because we've got 2 groups currently that we feel will contract with us to come at specific times, and because of their kids and they're at camp, it needs to be a little bit more secure than just allowing the general public. This is also the same time that we noticed that we had some of the lowest participation at the pool through the year. So Mondays and Tuesdays are not very good days for us. But Tuesday through Friday, we would continue to do swim lessons from 9 to noon, and then we would open up the pool for open swim on Wednesday through Sunday from noon to 6. We last year did intermittent training with the lifeguards. This year we need to standardize it a little bit more just to make sure that we're safe and everything is good. So 9 to noon for those individuals is when we would do that staff training. If we do...
Staff training?
Yes,
Or
ma'am.
lifeguard training?
Lifeguard training.
Considering it the same thing?
Yes, yep. So what we're looking at is about a 25% reduction in labor cost if we go with this, and then swimless contract, we're gonna increase by 10%.
But minimal impact to current usage.
Correct, so the bulk of the usage again is Wednesday through Sunday, and so those hours are
And
gonna be.
in the afternoons.
Yes, yep, 12 to 6.
Okay. All right. Any questions? Alderman Beatty, this is your baby. You want, nothing? Okay.
Okay.
All right.
We did get the roofs put on the bathrooms last year, and so we will continue to do, yes, cosmetic upgrades as we go into this next season. Same thing with the Sportsplex. The Sportsplex last year, our hours of operation were 6 to 8:30, Monday through Friday. We did eventually open up from 8 to 12 and then closed on Sundays. We had almost 15,000 recorded scans. So as they come through, they're scanning in, and we were collecting all the data of what time they scanned in, what days they scanned in, and all that kind of good stuff. What we found is staffing the front for these hours cost us about $107,000. So the challenge is that we rent the gym, and we have leagues, and we have events, and we have community stuff, special events. We find ourselves closing the gym quite often to help support these things. We had 23 Saturdays that were closed throughout the year. We rented the gym out 42 different times. So a lot of times we're trying to provide service to the people of our community, but we're closing and opening, closing and opening. So we went back and took this data, broke it down, and tried to come up with a plan that says, hey, this is what we can do to mitigate our expenses when it comes to labor, but also try to make improvements in performing better and being more consistent so we can get more people out there to use it. So on the next page, you can see our peak hours, about 80% of our time where the people are coming into the facility is between 7 and 5 o'clock, 7 a.m. and 5 in the afternoon. So we are planning to do a small amendment to the time for our business hours to be 7 to 5. 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock in general is kind of the high school or after school programs that will contract with this to come in and utilize the gym. After 5 o'clock, we get into our rec league Starting in January, it will be pretty much every single day, we will have basketball practices. If we don't have basketball practices, we have a volleyball club who on Wednesdays and Fridays will utilize it, and they're under a contract who are also paying for us. So all of these things will help reduce the number of FTEs needed to staff the front desk, and it's going to reduce the amount of money that it takes to manage just general operations. We will still allow during that 3 to 5 or 3 to 6 to 7, whenever we get done with the rec programs, to allow people to come into the facility and use the gym or the track. We wouldn't exclude anybody, but we wouldn't stay open and just service 1 to 2 people. As you can see, as you get to 6, 7, and 8 o'clock, the number of people that are utilizing the gym as just a general user is extremely low. And so this is our way of trying to be more fiscally responsible and provide better service. All right, food and beverage last year was good. We still have a long ways to go. We had about 22,000 transactions. 79% of that was cash transactions, and we had 21% of those were sales. We use Clover to kind of dictate those things. And then our most popular items are burgers with cheese or without, popcorn and hot dogs. We expect this number, the 22,000, to probably be at least 3 to 4 times higher this coming year with all the Cornerstone activities. So
We're not gonna stock oatmeal raisin cookies.
Cheeto plum Cheetos.
No, we will not have those on the menu. Absolutely not. And if you do, you know we're in trouble. So, facility rentals, we had over 396 separate facility rentals, which could be a court, it could be the building, it could be a room, it could be a field. Out of those, the annex had 245 of those reservations. So 38% of all of our reservations that go online are coming from the annex. We realize that we are being charged a fee for all the credit card transactions. So this coming year, we're going to pass that fee on to the customer at 4%. We also realize that people aren't paying deposits, and we got to collect these deposits now. The deposits hold their room in the room rental, and it goes towards the rental and making sure that it's clean and kept up and when they're done. In addition, individuals who don't clean after their rental is going to get charged an additional $250. So normal cleanup takes about an hour for us, and if it's exceeding that, then we're going to charge that. This will be similar to what we're going to have to review when we get into the Needmore Center, when we start talking about doing rentals with the Needmore Center next summer. So this is really just kind of setting the path forward as we do this. The market of our rentals are extremely low compared to the area, so we will be looking at maybe a price adjustment, but we don't have all the numbers yet, and we didn't want to put this on here. So not only are we trying to mitigate our expenses, we're also looking at ways to generate more revenue and provide some activities to the community that aren't normally out there. One thing that we're working on is what we were kind of calling the jump zone. Once a month, we would like to do a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday where we can use bounce houses as a play area, open up the concession stand, and give kids and parents a place to go that is not offered in Starkville.
Is this all in the gym, or are we talking about outside now?
It
Or
could
either
be.
one?
It could be either one.
Either one.
Yep. It would be either one. It would be a $5 entry fee. Kids can come in, they can play, they can have a great time. And just to give you a look, if you look on the next, this is what it kind of looks like if you were to do that. We feel after surveying a number of families and parents that we would be able to do this. Now, if we did it every weekend, it probably wouldn't pay for itself because it wouldn't be special. So if we pick one weekend every month, like the first weekend of every month, then people can start planning and anticipating it. And then we'll get a few more people and we'll have a better return. This is something that I think would really kick off. It's a small investment of about $13,000, and I think we'll get a payback within 2 years.
And if you were to do it inside, does the space available once the curtain is up, is this like half and half kind of
We
thing,
could-
or would it take up the whole gym?
We could design it any way we would like. We could do both. And our biggest concern initially was the power. And we ran a couple of events this last year where they had the houses, bounce houses inside, and so we have enough power so we're not tripping breakers. So, absolutely. The other piece of that is with the investment in the bounce houses, we use those for the 4th of July, which we rent every single season. And then on top of that, any other special events that we would host, we would be able to utilize them for those types of special events.
And those rentals of those bounce houses on a one-time thing, how much is that?
So they've been ranged anywhere that we found from 250 up.
Per.
Per bounce
unit,
house?
per
Per day.
house.
Okay, so $1,000?
Yeah, we get 6 of them for the holiday, so 250 for a couple days, yeah.
Okay.
To expand upon that, we're talking about also doing scheduled birthday party rooms. So in the gym currently, we have what used to be called the music room, which doesn't get used anymore. So that is kind of the room on the top left corner. That top left corner, we would convert into basically a birthday room where we could do segmented hours throughout the day on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, just like we're doing the bounce house events. Once a weekend, scheduled times, they would sign up for it. We could host 25 kids, they could come out into the gym and they could play. We can set up different activities. It gives parents a chance to do something fun and different without breaking the bank, and it allows us to bring through a number of different, what could you say, a number of different types of groups, age groups and things like that. So we also have a game room that we've been intermittently working on, which is in the top right. Once we finish that, we can be running 2 birthday parties simultaneously. So doing this scheduled on like the 3rd weekend of every month, again, it's kind of desirable. So then they'll schedule it, they do the deposits, and it helps us offset the cost of all the other things that we're trying to get back to the community, and helps basically pay for the investment that we're doing.
Well, the top, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say that while I frequently have people go, but they're city parks and they should be available for free, not everybody uses everything, and these fees, which are market or less, do allow cost recovery, which in turn allows us to grow more programming, and so it's a cycle, so.
Absolutely.
Well, in a lot of cases, what you're paying for is the exclusivity of, I've got this
Exactly.
room,
It's
is
reserved.
mine.
It's yours.
It's no longer open to the public.
Exactly, you've taken it out of a
You've rented
public
it, yeah.
use and put it into a private use.
Yeah.
The nice part is food and beverage too, so they could order all their food and beverage from us directly, and we could provide it, or they could bring it in, so we have the ability to be flexible in that sense too. So really, we can offer a turnkey birthday party for people to come in. It's special.
My question, the top right-hand corner, that's currently as it currently exists, right?
Yep.
And that's a,
It used to be the fitness room, but that's, we're converting that into a gaming room, so people.
E-games.
okay.
Yes.
All right, gotcha.
E-games.
That's what I was trying
Yep.
to make sure I was understanding properly.
Yep.
Okay.
We have, the last piece that we have to do is actually get the units and games themselves, so. One of the things that we want to do is improve the communication to the public, so we're coming up with a calendar. This calendar is going to look like this, so everybody's going to be like, well, when can I walk, or when can I play pickleball, or when can I play basketball? This calendar will be produced for 3 months, will show times and available usage in the facility.
So this is for the gym?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So this will show us exactly when, if somebody's interested, we can give this to them or show them or post it to help say, hey, I'm going to play pickleball and this is when it's available, or this is when open gym is, or for instance, this is when we have an event, such as on the 17th, we have the Silverbacks game at 3 o'clock. We can use this as a tool to help market people to come in. So when we're talking about birthday parties and we're talking about the jump zone, then we would put this in here so people can anticipate those things. We're going to be posting these all across the city. These are going to be our adult programs, and we're going to be breaking this into the youth programs to try to include or try to create more interest in our sports. Right now, we send them out to the schools and that's about it, but now we're going to start producing these and actually physically going out to businesses and promoting them. Even to the point where we're going to have some marketing, like the pull-up signs, I forget what they're technically called, but they're vinyl and they stand about 6 feet tall. We'll have schedules like this with some of our sponsors and put them in businesses and move them around. So
And
that
you've
we
been
can
sending
stay-
out that information too?
Yes, we have. Yep. We have a number of capital projects. Not going to go into all of them, but
Before you go there, you're going to have that calendar that will be for the Sportsplex. Will
Yes.
you have a calendar for Cornerstone so that
We
people?
will have we'll have a tournament schedule kind of calendar, absolutely. Yep.
Are they gonna each be under their own heading?
Yes, they will. Yep. Capital projects, we have a lot of capital projects going on. Some of those, right now, the gym wall is going to be hopefully completed this fall. We have the pickleball courts, which will be this winter, which they look like they're getting pretty close. We have a lot of different projects with the splash pad at J.L. King, the bathroom, the playgrounds, the Nemours Center, all the way down to soccer fields and then softball fencing at J.L. King. This is a progression. Obviously, one of the big ones on there is the soccer field reconstruction. That is going to have to be a multi-phase project, and we haven't really started other than just getting some evaluations, but the initial evaluation is we need to do something. If we don't do something, then we may be missing out on some soccer tournaments in the future. So,
And that's because of the quality of the field?
correct. If I get into future concerns, things that we have our eyes on that we're trying to make sure that don't become big things. One is the Cornerstone parking lot. So as we built 2 additional fields, we didn't expand any additional parking. Now that we have so many parking stalls and teams coming in, we need some additional gravel lot to allow ourselves to have overflow. Tournament directors, specifically 2 groups, are willing to sign multi-year deals with us, 2-day type things where they consolidate their statewide tournaments, but in return, they needed some type of commitment for us about the parking and the parking situation.
And we have a large lot that's being used for overflow parking, but because it's not gravel, it seems
Correct.
to be uncertain as to its availability at any given point.
Yes, they definitely want something that's gonna look a little bit like, yes, you have
More
parking,
designed.
and it's not, it's just not
Have we
a piece of
priced out
grass.
what graveling that area would be?
We're probably in that 50 to 70,000 range.
Man, rock's expensive. Isn't it?
Bought some at our house recently, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excessive field usage, which we kind of talked about, the soccer field repairs. As we move forward, we got a kind of an initial quote of what the soccer field repair would look like. If we did irrigation all the way down to electrical, it's about 250,000. We feel that there's some ways that we can reduce that down, but we're going to continue to look to figure out what we can do. To hold larger soccer tournaments, the condition of those fields need to be better, and I think as long as we're showing progress, I think people will be receptive to come, but we'll just need to set up some type of system that every year maybe we can do a field as we go, so.
And we have a rough number on what the field reclamation would be?
250,000.
Per field.
Per field.
Kind of like gravel.
Worse than gravel.
Well, but I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, well beyond what you would think.
Yes. We have some irrigation lines out in those areas that have leaks and things from the project from the stormwater, and we got to get those repaired. We have some.
In-house repairs potentially?
Yes, we're going to try to do those in-house the best we can. We have limited revenue streams, and so as we are trying to provide bigger and more things to offset some of our expenses, that's why we've come up with those 2 plans with the birthday and the jump zone. And then we also have aging fleets. So we are concerned that a couple vehicles, if they do go down, could be a huge, could be very problematic for us. So in the month of October, these are the kind of the things that we did in October, which was Cornerstone. All the good things that we've done is for the kids in our community. And then we ended the month with our Halloween event, where we had nearly 500 kids out there participating. We had about 20 trunk-or-treaters. And again, it's us moving forward to try to make a stronger impact in our community. So.
I think everybody had a great time with that. I mean, there wasn't any candy left, that's for
There was
sure.
not. No. And we had some bad weather that day too, so we had a lot of people that were still willing to commit to be there, and we just love it. So, and we thank you.
All right. Any
Other-
questions?
yeah.
Any questions while we have?
Great job.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you so much, appreciate it.
Thanks,
And
Joel.
the knee rehab is going well?
What's that?
The knee rehab is going well?
Oh, slow and steady, slow and
Okay.
steady.
All right, and we can move into the agenda. Couple of sets of minutes. Mr. Huskisson, you're good with those?
Yes.
And Ms. Harden, no second thoughts on your agenda minutes?
I have no second thoughts.
Any issues with consent for those two
No
items?
issue.
Comments, I think we don't have any introductions, but.
Yes, we do.
Oh,
We do.
We do have introductions, okay, so we will add those on there, Ms. Harden? Okay. So
That came through yesterday afternoon.
Okay, all right, we'll have a few introductions then. And I don't know of anything anybody wants us to comment on, but I'm sure we'll have something before all is said and done, so we'll see. Citizens' comments, public appearances, nothing, and public hearings at this point, we have nothing, so nothing will be added between now and then. Mayor's business, I've got one item, which is the approving the contract. You know, we approved the cost at the last board meeting. This one is to approve the contract for the shared use between us and the school district.
Is this a lease agreement between us and the school district? What all does this allow us to do once this contract is?
It allows us to have open access to the courts as long as they're not tournaments or the school is not using it for their practice
Does it
time.
allow us to make any improvements on the property, like bathrooms or things like
Oh,
that?
yeah, they'd be delighted if we had the money to do that. but
Well, I'm
right
just saying that I've had questions asked about, because tennis players get pushed off of McKee
Right.
back toward this.
Mhm.
And he has bathrooms. And so I've had questions about that. And I assumed if we had a long enough lease agreement with the school system, we could justify the capital expense, and they would allow, that lease agreement, if we had the language written in there, we could do it. So would there be any plans for us, since people are going to be coming over, playing tennis from McKee Park, to have some plans to build some restrooms out there for people?
I think there's certainly the opportunity for us, and particularly if we were to share it with the school, which I think they're willing to do as well, but I think they also, and I'm pulling it back in, they also allow them to use the restrooms at the baseball field maybe, which is just across the street there. I would have to confirm that, because that may not be true other than school hours.
Do we have a defined area that's leased premises?
Be the tennis courts, so no.
I mean, anything outside of that?
No.
Well, I mean, would be.
Parking, we don't have anything surveyed, but that would be one of those agreements, I mean, I'm sure.
I would think in the lease agreement, would want to lease enough property where if we're the lead on it, we decide we want to put bathrooms in or something, there's room within that leased premises for us to be able to do so.
Well, they're the lead on this, and we're sharing in their properties.
No, I mean, I know that, but I
Yeah.
mean, we're going, well, we do, well, our lease agreement with them, or our shared agreement with them, will we do any maintenance to the tennis courts?
Yes, that's part of the agreement, is we're sharing.
What's the amount of that lease?
It's up to it's not to exceed $30,000, and it's a 5-year lease with a renewable option.
Are these, what are these surfaces? The Laco, what's the surface on these
Oh,
courts?
you don't go there with me, not clay, that much I know.
It's not clay.
Concrete. I mean,
Is that what they call it? You used to call it Laco. What is that stuff? It's a poured surface or something?
It's the same stuff that's going on
On the pickleball courts?
yes.
Okay, well, I don't know, but I
I don't know
know
the
that,
technical term.
What is the
Basically,
condi- what is
kind
the
of like a plastic rubber with a grit
Yeah.
to it, and then they do a base coat, and then they put the stuff
Yeah,
over the
he's
top
got it.
and line it out, but I can't touch it.
What's the condition of it, Brandon?
it needs overlay, which is why we.
This up, this 30,000 is going.
That's the.
Our cost
third.
to overlay.
Yeah, and it's a not to exceed 30, because the other two entities are going to share in that cost.
And the other third county is county, who's third county? I mean,
A group that's going to raise funds in the name of a young lady who was, who died at her first of the year.
Would it, in the lease agreement, would it be to our advantage to define the whole outside of, or talk to school about having a defined area where we could, if we decided we wanted to start the ball rolling from our standpoint, to build some restrooms? You know, one of those restroom areas, it's got the middle part's got a water fountain and place to sit down, and men's and women's restroom, something like that. You see at tennis courts a lot of places. To build something like that we would have the room, the leased premises would be sufficient for us to do that. Work with the school, determine how the cost would be shared or something. But we would be the lead. We wouldn't necessarily wait for the school to be the lead on that. We would be the lead on it. I mean, is there any way to I guess the lease agreement would just define the space that we're leasing from the school or the shared agreement outside just the tennis courts proper to where that could be done. If we don't lease it, then we have no legal right to say, hey, we want to put.
It allows for us to take the lead on that, but it's in conjunction with them, working with them
Yeah,
to do
because it's
it.
their property, obviously.
That's right.
And like you said, I don't think they would mind at all.
Oh, I
us
don't
taking
know,
that.
they'd be delighted.
But if we don't lease, if we don't have the ground outside the tennis court leased to be able to put it on, we don't have a legal right
Well,
we can't
We
spend.
wouldn't go beyond their desire anyway. If they said, no, we don't want you to do it, then.
But if we had the area outside tennis courts to be able to put them on, we couldn't spend city money on it unless we leased that ground leased that property, right?
Yeah, but I think there'll be an agreement to allow us to do whatever we want to do if we get to the point where we want to add something like that.
And even if it wasn't leased premises,
Even if
they
it's
would give
not-
us a legal right to do
Even if
it.
it's not defined in a leased premises.
And we could,
yes.
the city could spend city money on school property for that purpose.
I think we could in agreement with them, yeah.
That's all I was trying to.
And
get on
the,
that.
I
'Cause
I think the thing that covers us with spending money on school property is that if the shared use agreement ends, then that cost is prorated and refunded back to the city.
Is there anything in that agreement where if we start the process to do that, or do we have to go back to them to amend I mean, I'm saying we're about to sign a lease agreement with them, why don't we write the language in where we would be able to
Well,
do that?
it's not really a lease agreement, it's a shared use agreement. I think maybe potato and potato, but I do think there's a difference.
We're not gonna take full response, they're still.
Right. So what I would say is if we wanted to do that, I think we would enter into another agreement with them that would be particular to construction and to additional expenses that we might incur doing that.
Mayor, I think that we need to put that on the back burner, because I think it's gonna be people from the tennis community gonna come forward and ask us to start the process, to be able to provide, facilities right there at the tennis courts, for them and everything. And I think that's a reasonable thing for us to consider doing.
Okay, sure. I mean, it's not the first time I've heard that, so yeah.
But right now, they use the bathroom at the baseball court. don't they?
That's my understanding, yes.
Yeah.
But again, I've not been out there, so I don't have personal facts.
No direct
They used to
knowledge.
have it.
Thank you, no direct knowledge.
They used to have access to the bathroom on the football field too.
Yes.
They used to.
Yeah. But I'll check on that. I'll make,
But it'd be nice to have it out there with the courts or,
Sure.
and a place to
Sure.
sit down, get a drink of water, whatever, that kind of thing.
Sure. Okay, all right, so, the contract as it stands, do you want to talk more about it, or you want to leave it off?
I don't know, you're an attorney, we need, and y'all, and got a city attorney, and
Yeah.
what do you think y'all?
I think for the purposes of what we're wanting to do with this agreement, it's fine to consent to this, and then we can add on with different things later on.
So when he's supposed to come back and they say, hey,
That's right.
what's the progress of the
This is a
possibility of
shared,
getting
it's a shared use
Yeah,
deal
and
that I think is
I'll have
appropriate.
those conversations with Dr. McGee.
that? Okay,
Okay, all right.
I'm good.
Do consent. All right, we have, community development, Mr. Haviland.
Yes, this is the subdivision of a lot in front of the Hilton Garden Inn. One lot subdivided into two for the purpose of building a new Waffle House.
I mean, what?
Waffle House.
Waffle
Second
House.
one, or what would it be, just a second?
Second,
one?
yes.
Did you ever figure out how to pronounce it?
I'm gonna go with Bellamore.
That'll work for me. Any issues with it?
There's been no issues. We've thoroughly reviewed it. We got all the access easements and stuff that we needed, so everything looks good.
Okay.
Ingress, egress, water mitigation, all that.
All that's been taken care of.
Okay, all right, consent to that? Okay. All right, under engineering. Mr. Burnett?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, we're gonna add one more item to it. He's gonna explain, he's gonna go through that too, so, anyway, go ahead.
For the new item?
You can do start with number one.
Okay, we'll start with number one. This is a change order for the off-corridor electric as a part of the 182 project. It's for minor quantity revisions and a few additional items.
Anything particular about that, other than just a typical change order?
Typical change order, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Nothing concerning.
Any issues?
Consent.
Consent for that?
Number two is for the professional services with Neil Schaefer for the design of Old Bayview. This is the continuation of what we discussed a few weeks ago when Mr. Stafford came and spoke to the board. We took those options, distilled those, took the comments, and there was one kind of glaringly obvious option. And so this is for designing that as well as the bidding and construction engineering and inspection.
And that's the T into moving the road, turning
Yes,
the
ma'am.
road and creating the T into East Lee.
That's
Is that
right.
correct?
That's right. So it will be the reclamation of Old Mayhew first. It's rebuilding the road, and then we will build essentially a T into East Lee, which provides better visibility. It's a lot safer. And then that will set us up to one day go design a roundabout. I don't think the funds are there personally after speaking with the budget chair, but it doesn't inhibit us anyway from doing that in the future. And I think that it's a really good project potentially for some of these safety or TAP grants that we've applied for in the past.
Mr. Budget Chair, what were the approximate cost of roundabouts? What are we talking about?
We're just talking about design right now.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, sure. So I'll break it down. So the reclamation portion is between $1 million and $1.5 million.
Not for the
Building-
design, but for the
Construction.
building,
Yes, ma'am.
Land acquisition, or no, the land acquisition would mean we're gonna straighten out Old Mayhew regardless. I mean, you can come up and have a three-way stop, right?
Yes, sir. And so that portion of the project is about $500,000 based on the estimate to build the new road. And then the roundabout adds at least $1 million on top of all of that. So our thought was to wait on the design, wait on the construction, apply for some of these grants we've had success with in the past, and then do that at a later date.
and you need the road anyway
You need
if you're gonna do the roundabout.
So we get a straightened out road, rebuilt new road bed, a new road, and a straightened out road that tees into Eastleigh Boulevard
Yes,
at
sir.
a 90-degree, or a close to 90-degree angle.
It's about 500 feet north of where the existing intersection is. Yes, sir.
Does it become a three-way stop?
So the recommendation from Neil Schaefer and the regional transportation plan is no. It's a one-way stop to keep the level of service where it is, but it does provide a lot better visibility. So you get the same stop condition you have now with a much safer ability to leave. And also for vehicles that are turning onto Old Mayhew, they can't take that turn so quickly, so it slows down the turn. That's part of why it's so dangerous.
What is the contract price, the engineering contract price for this?
So if we were to take it all the way through the design, bidding, and construction, engineering, inspection, it's at $260. We have the option, if we want to inspect in-house at that time, to remove that from the contract, because it's a hourly not to exceed.
What do you want to do?
We have a lot of projects next year, and we are down a couple of staff members, so I think it depends on the staff and how some of these projects come to fruition. I think we have the ability with some of our inspectors to do the work, but we don't know what that's going to look like next year. So I wanted to have it in the contract if we do need
Are
it.
we waiting on grant money to do Old Mayhew Road, or have we budgeted for doing the base work and the new road with the acquisition? Is Mississippi State going to give us land? We have to buy land from Mississippi State. How's that going?
I haven't had those conversations yet, but I know they're very in support of the project, and I hope we can work out a good agreement with them.
Okay.
And the project we've discussed is budgeted for next year.
Is budgeted, the whole thing included, the straightening it out, putting it, okay.
When you say straighten it out, let's make sure you remember it makes a turn. We're gonna create a turn out of it, so you're not really straightening it out.
I'm talking about, when we come up, instead of making that 45-degree turn, comes in as that funky angle, we try and.
I've got a schematic I'll pull up if that
All right.
works.
But it's gonna make a curve, and I just wanna make sure that,
But I mean, when it gets to Eastleigh Boulevard, it's gonna be pretty much a 90.
yes, yes.
It's the Z drive.
And I'd like to say that we have not budgeted for this, but it's very much front and center in developing the budget for capital improvements
Yes,
for
ma'am.
the next 2 years, because we're not gonna build it this spring, I don't think.
How much we getting, Officer Trump from that,
There it is, on the baby.
let's see.
So this is I would say phase one of this project. It realigns at Eastleigh.
Yeah, it curves, but it curves into a 90 degrees, what it does.
Yes, sir. And this is the old
And that
intersection.
goes up cul-de-sac dead end.
Yes, sir. And as a part of that conceptual plan with Neil Schaefer, they did give us the end-all be-all design, which would be the roundabout at some point. in the
That's the $1
future.
million roundabout?
At least. Yes, sir. And so the T does not preclude this in any way. We're not losing money by not doing it now. We're set up to do it in the future.
That to me would be a tap opportunity.
Sister, what's that use tax money for us, and $1 million?
It's a little, around 2 million.
I saw that.
But about 800,000 of it is committed for debt service, so.
On what? On this
The last
street payments.
paving.
So we got $1 million annually, a little over $1 million that we're just uncommitted.
And my proposal would be that we look at doing another bond issue for streets that would carry us through the next 3 years, and that's what we've been talking about was.
This be included in the bond?
This would be included in that. So we would use another bond issue to do that, and at that point, that carries us through maybe 26, and as we get into the late 20s, early 30s, there starts to be debt that rolls off that we can then factor back into more street projects going forward.
So what we talking about this is engineering right on through to get, and we engineer it being very close to letting it. I mean, we engineer this with the idea of building it, right? I mean, without a lot of planning.
Absolutely,
Building it.
absolutely.
Oh, the use tax money is double what I thought it was going to, I mean, I think you know,
Double
both
what we
anticipated
both
$1 million
thought.
years, 2 million. I looked at the statistics the other day on Department of Revenue's website, and I thought I was looking, I thought I was seeing the same figure twice when it was a little over $1 million, but that's really good for cities now. That's been the biggest thing for cities.
Huge, huge.
Yeah.
And leveraging it to do more.
To be able to use it for,
Yeah.
for bigger projects.
Okay, so that would be, that's what you got proposed. Any issues with that one? For that one? And then professional services with Burns Schooling?
Yes, ma'am. This is for, we're going to do roadway borings on 182 to make sure the roadway design, just so we know what we have, how deep the concrete is, what's underneath it, et cetera. I know you'd had some concerns about that, so.
Do we still, are we committed to taking up the concrete completely?
I think we're going to have to. I think there'll be enough.
From curb to curb, we're gonna take concrete up. Because if we don't, and we leave patches of that old concrete, wherever we leave, we're gonna have issues with that fishing.
I don't think there's any way to leave any of it. I think it will be, as deep as the infrastructure is, you'll have to demo essentially all of it. So there'll be a new road.
So these boards are just gonna tell what your bearing soil is and stuff, patch stuff under that concrete, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that one. And then number 4, which is going to be what I had alluded to. We had originally had this on the agenda, and then it looked like the timing was off, so we pulled it. And now APAC called and said, we want to go to work, and so we're putting it back on the agenda. So this is, Cody, go ahead and.
Sure.
That's
So
something I did.
as a part of this year's street overlay, we had slated to overlay Lampkin and Jackson Street. And the idea was utilities is working downtown. We let them completely finish, test it, get off the project, and then overlay the street. That's probably going to happen somewhere over in January. So you get into the winter months, you really start to kind of lose some of your ability to overlay streets. And so what we would prefer to do is let those streets rot all winter and then do those next year so the trenches have had time to settle and give us more time to do it during the summer months. But what we would like to do is swap the cost of those roads for a road that is equivalent in condition, that's equivalent in cost, and really equivalent in traffic.
Which is
What we've taken the preliminary data from Civil Link. If you remember a few weeks ago, we're talking about doing a roadway survey assessment. They've got some preliminary maps. We use those to find a road that's in a similar condition. The closest fit we have found is Reed Road from Greensboro to Hospital Road. It's almost exactly the same cost. It's a single road that they can pull at one time, and the condition is right on top of Jackson and Lampkin.
Which falls in line with our data, which I just love the fact that we have now got that information on each one of our roads, and we know how to assess them, or where we can assess them and what we can do along those lines.
We could have taken the budget for Lampkin and Jackson and piecemealed lots of little streets all over town, but it's really, it's so much work. It makes more sense for us to do one street that fits that budget at one time and get them out before the winter.
Yeah, I mean, that's not where we are anymore. We're doing projects, major projects that have impact.
Just a flip.
Yeah.
The good thing about that road is it's fairly narrow, so you actually get a lot of bang if you can get farther. So.
And you've got a huge amount of traffic flow. I don't think, unless you're there often, you don't realize how much you've got.
It's a busy road.
Yeah, it's very busy road. But anyway, that's swap.
Just a flip swap.
Yeah.
And then we will come back and do Jackson and Lampkin.
And let me make
next year.
sure that whoever's listening understands that that doesn't mean we're not going to do that temporary asphalt piece over the ones that are now currently gravel, because we are. We can't stand it for the winter of rock and metal. So, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What about, what's the cost of this project?
I believe, I can't remember the breakout of Jackson and Lampkin, but they were together were about $500,000 for the full mill overlay trench repair. And so that's essentially equivalent within a few percent of what we'd spend at Reed Road.
is this company that we've hired, are they already, they're grading roads all over town, they're giving us conditions of grade, and they, how far along are they into this?
So we met with them Monday at length, and they had got the road ratings finished, but they are going through and doing their second review to make sure, they video everything. So they've got their folks that have gone out and ridden the streets, and now they're reviewing to make sure they agree. But generally, the draft is finished on the condition. Now they're putting together the report, the recommendations, the calls. So we're still early on, but the assessment has been completed.
All right, now, I'm gonna sound like just a broken record on this, but North Montgomery Street, and you and I talked about it, we talked about the fact that the sidewalk with this, but North Montgomery Street is in deplorable condition. From about the bottom, I don't know what street, Market, whatever street that is, to Reed Road, it's in deplorable condition. It's some of the oldest, most worn-out asphalt in City Starkville. I don't know what the traffic counts on that road are, you probably do. They're pretty significant. But what we do is we just keep running around, and unless we've got, I guess what I'm saying is, unless we've got some definitive plans, and I've talked about grants that are probable that we can receive to do improvements on that, I would question why we're going to spend $500,000 out on Reed Road versus on this section of road that is just, it wouldn't matter what, I don't care if it's my district, it's just a main street that's in real bad shape, that's traveled by a lot of people, and I guess.
Do we know what the status of North Montgomery was?
I have an answer for that, yes ma'am. It's on the list for next year's overlay. It would be certainly a good road to do now as well, but if you recall, we're in the middle of an SS4A grant, which is a safety grant.
And that would be the sidewalk part of this?
I think there's a potential that a recommendation could come out for that as a project, and if that's the case, I'd rather wait till next summer until we have that report to know, because it may be recommended to do that sidewalk, and that may be, we may chase that, we may be moving curbs. I'd hate to overlay a street and move the curb.
Okay.
So that was one of the main reasons, but it would have been a good swap as well. Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Yes, sir.
I saw the legal advertising in the paper about the Spring Street.
Yeah.
The town grant, and that'll be the sidewalk or the multi-use path beside the new urgent care, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It's primarily focused on the intersection, but there will be some multi-use path that extends south a little bit.
150 feet or something.
And we're actually under the grant application for the phase that goes south from there for next year.
Right, okay. And we'll be ordering to redesign that intersection.
Yes, sir.
The second tap that we're looking at, that we just authorized to apply for. Okay, consent for the revote?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, then we have acceptance of the financial statements, consent of those.
Consent.
Any issue with those, Ms. Harden?
No.
Fire department, chief driver to travel, he wants to go down to Ridgeland.
Consent.
All right, consent for that one. And HR, anything about, none of these new positions, these are all replacements from vacant positions? Okay, all right, so consent for those. Let's see, and that takes it down to number 8, which we probably, have you had a discussion with Mr. Huskinson about that?
Not fully, but it's in the board's package.
Okay. Probably leave that one off.
Yeah, I'll talk with him about it.
Okay. So, then we move to parks, which is rescinding the contract with Livewire for electrical hookup. So if we could do that.
Consent.
Thank you. And then police department, we have grant agreements and, what is this, a ruptured heat exchanger? Chief, anything about that you need to know?
No, ma'am.
What is a ruptured heat exchanger?
Our heater systems are out.
Okay, all right.
Consent.
Consent for both of them?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And then utilities, Mr. Tim? Yes, ma'am. Let's see, sole source for repairs to a tractor. Okay.
Consent.
Consent for that. And then we have a low quote for pipe, for central pipe for materials for the OS Montgomery water. Anything about that we need to know?
This is a ongoing project.
Okay.
Next year, we're going to include one line for the rest of it from Highway 22 down to Broadwater.
Okay.
And also include some minor improvements on Chapin and Broad Street to abandon some
Whole line?
undersized, problematic lines to do it all at one time. But we're coordinating with the engineering department
Okay.
on this, on the timing of it. cents from that. We're trying to do this in advance, so like I said, there's a lot of moving parts that they're looking at on their side, specifically related to the field project and how it impacts this particular project. So we're in close coordination with that, but irregardless of exactly when it occurs, we do need to get more approval for the material purchase.
Okay, all right. Any issues with that?
Just want to add one quick, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Go ahead, baby.
Just change, the pipe size changing on this, just on the same side.
It's increasing.
What we put from 6 to 8?
I believe it's an 8-inch all the way down to Old West Point. And then on Chapin Street, we are landing some old 2-inch and having a full 6-inch down there. There's only a part of 6-inch on Chapin. And then I believe we're abandoning some old 2-inch on Broad
These
Street.
projects.
Yes, sir.
That's good.
I'm pretty sure about this size. But
Well,
I'll get you a set of the final.
That's important for us to increase these water lines. In some of these other parts of town, I mean, it's a lot of 1.5 and 2 inch, not a lot. There's still 1.5 service line and 2 inch, 90, 80, 70, 80, 90-year-old water lines. So that's good, that's good.
There's duplicate.
Is now fine with some? All right, that closes us out, guys. Is there anything else? Anything? All right, thank you, everyone. We will adjourn.
All right.
I may watch that game.
I'm gonna watch it.